Hello, I am Jan Bisho, also known as Jan of Kaduna. Here we talk about environmental sustainability and climate change from a Nigerian point of view. In today's video, I'll be telling you how I take care of my reusable sanitary pads. 2 years ago, I made a switch to sustainable period care. And I've done different videos about why I decided to use sustainable period care, my 1 year review of using sustainable period care, and now it's 2 years and counting. I want to tell you guys how I take care of my reusable sanitary pads. Now, why did I even start using the reusable sanitary pad? I've talked about it in some of my videos before now, but well, just because I wanted to live a more sustainable lifestyle, and I decided to try out how having a sustainable period could be like. Now, sustainable period goes beyond just using reusable sanitary pads. You could also use menstrual cups, or you could also use menstrual cups, or you could use pads that are made from sustainable materials. They have some degradable period. They have some degradable menstrual pads, but I think this part of Nigeria that's pretty much very expensive and not readily accessible. Even reusable sanitary pads, a lot of people don't really know about it. It still seems a bit strange when I talk about it on social media. I have the people tagging me as a weirdo. There was this video I did recently where called me a weirdo, where someone told me I needed help, but that's what happens when you are different. They just don't understand, and it is going to be very impossible for me to say that everyone should understand why I use sustainable period care, but it works for me. And based on my own personal experience, it is healthier and better for me. I've made a video where I talked about the pros and cons of using sustainable period, of using reusable pads as against the normal sanitary pads that we find everywhere. But for me, reusable sanitary pads have been big. And how do I take care of them? Firstly, usually during your period, the concept of having a reusable sanitary pad during your period is when you use it, after you could hold for up to 6 hours. When you're done, when it's time for you to have your bath or you want to change it, you wash it. You wash it thoroughly, and that is very bloody business. Like, the washing part is very bloody, especially if you're like me that has very heavy flow the first 2 days of her period. Then you understand what I mean by very bloody bath. Everywhere is all bloody. You have to keep on washing and rinsing till the water is clear. Then I air dry it till the next time tea is well dried before I use it. So I have 3 of this. So in a day I use up to 2, so the other one is always on standby the next day. So even the 2 are not dry by the next morning, I have a dry one that I could just quickly that I could use, and then while the other 2 continue drying. Then after the period, I then take very special care of them, because this thing goes in there, because this thing goes somewhere that is very intimate and has very direct contact with whatever is inside my body. I have to ensure that I take extra care of it beyond the normal care I give it during my period. How do I take care of it when it's not my period? When it's not my period, I'm more relaxed and I have the time to carefully take care of it. The 3 of them, I put them in a bucket. I pour water, pour detergent, and I soak it so that the detergent gets into it, because this is like layers and layers of cloth. I think one of these days I'll soon be done using this one. I think one of these days I'm going to do a review of what's actually inside the reusable sanitary pad, where I'll cut it and I'll cut it, and then I'll show everybody, including myself, what's actually inside it. I put it in the bucket, I put the detergent, pour water in it, soak it for like a few hours, and then I go wash them, rinse them, and dry it. I always ensure I air dry, even though sometimes during rainy season it could be tricky. Actually, now it's rainy season, so it's a bit tricky, but I make sure I dry. So if when it's raining, I bring it inside. In my house, I'm opportune that I have a dry line also inside the house. So I put it on the dry line and I still ensure that it keeps on drying. So whenever it is properly dried, ensure that it is properly dried, so that you don't have it wet, and then when you go store it, start having molds and all that, having all those funny smells. Ensure that it is well dried. I usually prefer when the sun is always out to dry it, but the rain now, the sun is just turning on its own. Whatever I get, I use. So ensure I dry it, and then I properly store them till the next time I'm ready to use them again. It is pretty easy for me. Some could not be easy, and also talking about, and I think this will now bring me to sustainable alternatives, trying to introduce people to a whole lot of sustainable alternatives. Change is hard. A lot of people have been used to whatever they've been used to. So now telling them to change to something overnight is going to take a whole lot of convincing. That's why whenever I post videos talk about my journey using reusable pads and all, I'm always ready for the backlash and the people asking a whole lot of questions, because to them it's new. And even though reusable pads are not new, they have been here. Even menstrual cups, they've been here even before a whole lot of sanitary pad brands that we know of today, but they did not have as much acceptance. And moreover, the sanitary pad brands we're seeing as more convenient for people. It was very convenient. You use, you throw away, you use, you throw away, but it's not sustainable, especially being that most of the materials, especially being that most of these sanitary pad brands use plastic materials. They do not decompose, and as women, we must menstruate. We must give out the bloody business. What do? We cannot do without. We cannot say we'll not use it and we'll just be free bleeding. That means it will not be convenient for a lot of us to do the things that we love to do because of some few days in the month in our lives. Using reusable sanitary options is very sustainable. You do not have to necessarily throw out pads every time you use pads. And comparing it to the Nigerian sanitary pad brands that I have used, this is better. It holds longer. It holds the period for a longer time. There are some brands that I had used that after 2 to 3 hours, especially those first 2 days, I'm always checking, am I stained? Let me go change it. Am I stained? Let me go change it. And this does not give me that. My 5 hours is my 5 hours, and nothing's going to happen. I'm not scared of being stained on my clothing. Maybe the highest is maybe having a few stains on my panties, but other than that, there's no stain. I can go about doing my thing, and it's very comfortable for me. Every experience I'm talking about is my experience. While most of the sanitary pad brands I used before they were not comfortable for me. If it's not, I was having rashes, I was having sometimes bruises from some of them, but that is my own experience. Maybe a whole lot of people might have different experiences than me, but for me, reusable pads are big, and I think very soon I'm going to be venturing into the world of menstrual cups until I get the liver to do that. Reusable sanitary pads for the win. If you've watched this video up to now, thank you very much for watching. And if you are convinced that reusable sanitary pads are bae, please tell me in the comment section down below. It will be great for other people that use this to talk about their experience, so that other people would learn, so that they will not see us as aliens. If you are a reusable sanitary pads baddie, please tell me in the comment section down below. If you're also not very comfortable about using sanitary pads, please tell me your concerns in the comment section down below. It would be very great also to know your concerns and maybe address them if I can help address them. I'll be reading your comments, and maybe I could even get inspiration from some of your comments in the comment section. If you want this video tonight again, please share, subscribe, all the bobo to bo that you're supposed to do with a YouTube video, all the good things. Please do all that good stuff for me. Until next time, remember that you can be the change that you want to see. Jan of Kaduna, signing out.